This is a $300 shoe. By the time I finish cutting it in half, you'll understand why it cost the company about $24 to make. 7 pairs are on this table. 6 of them are about to embarrass the brand on the box. One of them is going to surprise you. I bought all of them with my own money. No brand sent me anything, because no brand wants this video to exist. Here's the only thing you need to understand before the knife goes in. A shoe is held together one of two ways. It is either stitched or it is glued. Stitched construction, a welt sewn around the shoe, can be taken apart and rebuilt for 30 years. Glued construction, what the industry calls cemented, is a sole pressed onto an upper with adhesive in under 2 minutes. When the glue fails, the shoe is garbage. You cannot resole it. You throw it away. Cemented shoes cost a few dollars to assemble. That is the entire secret. Watch what happens when I open them. Shoe number 1. A designer label most of you would recognize from a mall window. $320. The leather upper looks rich, smells rich, feels rich. Then I cut through the toe. The first quarter inch is leather. Underneath it is a layer of bonded material, leather dust and glue, pressed into a sheet and stamped to look like a solid hide. The industry calls it corrected grain. You paid for the look of leather over the cost of cardboard. And the sole? No stitching anywhere. A bead of dried adhesive, already separating at the heel after what the previous owner told me was 4 months of wear. $320 for a shoe engineered to last 1 season. The leather is real for exactly as deep as your thumbnail can reach. Shoe number 2 is the one that made me angry. An Italian luxury sneaker. $600. The word Italy stamped inside like a promise. I cut the sole and the inside is a slab of EVA foam, the same foam in a $10 flip-flop. Foam does not age, it compresses. Within a year it packs down flat and never comes back, and there is no way to replace it because the whole thing is glued shut. You are not buying a shoe that lasts. You are renting the logo until the foam days. $600 for flip-flop foam wearing a designer name. The factory knows this. The price tag is built on the leather you can see, not the foam you can't. Shoe number 3 slowed me down, because at first it looked honest. A heritage dress brand, $240, a name that's been around for over a century. The leather was solid grain, the good stuff. For about 10 seconds I thought I'd found a survivor. Then I checked the welt. There wasn't one. The stitching you can see running along the side of the shoe is decorative. It is sewn into the upper and connects to nothing underneath. It is theater. The sole is glued like all the others. A brand that built its reputation on welted construction is now selling you the costume of welting at the original welted price. They kept the look. They deleted the engineering. They never lowered the cost to you. Shoe number 4 is where the pattern becomes undeniable. A boot brand your father trusted. $200. Acquired by a holding company in the last decade. I cut it open and found a polyurethane sole. And polyurethane has a clock on it. It reacts with moisture in ordinary air, the chemical bonds break down whether you wear the boot or leave it in the closet, and somewhere between 5 and 7 years from the day it was made, it crumbles. This boot will fall apart in storage. You could buy it today, save it for a wedding in 2031, and watch the sole disintegrate on the walk to the car. The buyer is never told about the expiration date, because the expiration date is not printed on the box. Shoe number 5 barely needs commentary. A fast fashion brand pretending to be premium, $150. Synthetic upper that I cut through like wet paper. A cardboard heel counter, that's the piece that's supposed to hold the back of your foot in place. And a sole glued so thin I could see daylight through the flex point. This one is honest in only one way. It is exactly as cheap as it looks once it's open. The crime isn't the construction, the crime is the price. Shoe number 6 is the trap most of you have actually fallen for. Not the cheapest, not the most expensive, the safe middle. $220, marketed as comfort engineered, athletic cushioning in a dress shoe shape. I cut it open. The cushioning is a glued foam wedge replacing what used to be solid leather or cork. It feels incredible in the store for the first 10 minutes. That's the point. It is engineered for the showroom, not for year 3. Inside, same story. Corrected grain skin, glued sole, no path to repair. You will love it for 6 months and replace it forever. That is not a flaw in the design. That is the design. And then there's shoe number 7. I saved it because it's the one that proves the other 6 had a choice. Around $400 from a family-owned maker that never changed its factory. I put the knife to the sole and hit stitching. A real welt, sewn around the perimeter, sole attached to the welt instead of the upper. Underneath the insole, cork that molds to your foot over time instead of foam that flattens. Solid grain leather all the way through, not a skin over dust. This is the only shoe on the table I could rebuild. When the sole wears out, it goes back to the factory and comes home like new. $400 divided across 30 years and 2 resoles is about $13 a year. The $600 foam sneaker is gone in 18 months. Now look at which one the mall puts in the window. So here is the test, and it takes 3 seconds, and you can do it before you ever pay. Turn the shoe over. If you see stitching crossing the bottom of the sole, the shoe is welted. It can be rebuilt. It can outlast the next decade. If you see only a clean glued edge or a line of decorative stitching that stops at the side, the shoe is cemented, and you are paying a 30-year price for an 18-month product. The store is hoping you walk out without flipping the shoe over. Now you can't unknow it. 6 of these brands changed what's inside the shoe and never changed the number on the tag. One of them refused. The leather you can see is not the shoe you're buying. The shoe you're buying is everything underneath, and underneath is where they cut the cost and kept the price. Tell me in the comments which brand and which year you bought your most expensive pair, and I'll tell you what's probably inside it. Next week, I'm cutting open 7 luxury sneakers. Nike, the $600 Italians, all of them, and that one is going to start a fight. Subscribe. No sponsorships, no brand deals, no rankings for sale. Just a knife and what's actually inside.